When John O'Kane left Manchester United for Everton in 1998 at the age of 23, the move was on his own terms. Sir Alex had even offered him a new deal. He knew something was there, O'Kane tells Sky Sports. That is why he kept giving me contract after contract. He always said to me, "You're better than Gary Neville, you just need to sort your head out." But I was not wired that way. It is a subject explored in depth in O'Kane's disarmingly frank account of his life, bursting the bubble, football, autism, and me. Perhaps you are aware of the scale of Keith Gillespie's gambling addiction from a recent BBC documentary. O'Kane was in the betting shop with him. Or the infamous incident when Sir Alex Ferguson got wind of a party and gave the hairdryer treatment to Ryan Giggs and Lee Sharp. O'Kane was lurking upstairs. All the yarns are in, but O'Kane's own journey is about so much more. This is a man who is happier at Hyde United than playing in the Premiership. This is a man who is fighting a battle inside his own head, who has since found his sense of self-worth by working in the care sector rather than up and down the flank of a football pitch. As he states at the outset, this is not just another story of someone who didn't make it at Manchester United. O'Kane was a right-back in the so-called class of '92. He was one of the kids who featured in that infamous day against Aston Villa. He was even David Beckham's roommate. Did Gary Neville steal his life? It's a running joke with my mates, laughs O'Kane. Gary Neville would not have done that, would he? He got it every other day. Unlike Neville, he was a natural. Gary Neville had to work his socks off, and yet everything that came with it proved much more of a problem for O'Kane. He described himself as, quote, on the spectrum, a diagnosis long suspected but only recently made. It manifested itself in little tics, a twitch here and a stretch there. Sometimes it would consume all his energy. It was another thing that I had to deal with on the pitch, an involuntary movement, a habit. I had these mad thoughts in my head all the time. It was not just a football, it was the brain. He pauses for a moment. It was just a bit different. While that appearance against Aston Villa went well, making an impact off the bench, a Champions League start against Roto Volgograd proved much more challenging. O'Kane convinced himself that he had to be playing at left back, not right back, asking Ferguson to switch him with Phil Neville just before kick-off. That decision put him up against the opposition's best player and he was substituted 27 minutes into the match. My legs just seized up. Ferguson was as supportive as he could be. There were regular chats in his office. He had an aura about him. But he was approachable. He did not give me a choice, to be fair. I used to go and see him 3 or 4 times a week. But while Eric Cantona once told him not to be like everyone else, that was not the message that O'Kane received from others in the game. You have to be like a robot, basically. You have to eat, sleep and breathe football. I just was not one of those characters. It was not in my makeup to be that robot. It was not that I did not take it seriously. I just had other things on my mind. I was more of a free spirit. That came from my mum, really. If things gave me, if people gave me shit, I just go against that. That is classed as having a bad attitude. You cannot have that in football. You have to be a yes man. I had my own mind, but you cannot really have your own mind in football. You have to follow what the manager tells you. They treat you like a baby, and I wasn't. He did enjoy a good relationship with another legendary coach, Everton boss Howard Kendall. He was a great man manager. That was why leaving United was not a devastation. It was more of a feeling of excitement, a new challenge, a new manager who wanted me. But after the thrill of being involved in Everton's last day survival, part of me wished I'd stopped then. Kendall's successor, Walter Smith, wanted little to do with him and his career began to spiral. Sam Allardyce's Bolton, Steve McMahon's Blackpool. At 28 years of age, 5 years after Ferguson had offered him a new contract because of his latent potential, O'Kane was being booed at Blackpool. His career was all but over. I left there and I just thought, What am I doing here? The same patterns keep repeating. I get bored, I get disillusioned, so I basically retired. Perhaps it sums up what he was going through, that he found a home at Hyde United. Persuaded to pop down for a training session, he soon discovered that football could be fun again. It felt like freedom. The pressure was not there. I could just play football. Nobody was telling me what to do. It is why O'Kane readily admits that he was not cut out for the life of being a footballer. It was just that environment. It did not suit me. When I played, I wanted to do well, but it did not have that drive to do more. It just wasn't me. But before jumping to conclusions about his character, consider how he had spent his days since helping vulnerable children. The care sector, you've got to really want to do it. If you don't want to do it, you will hate it, because this work is not for the faint-hearted. You have to have a good sense of humour and a lot of patience. A lot of people could not do what I do. Even now, people say to me, "Why are you doing this?" Well, why shouldn't I do this? It seemed to give me more satisfaction. O'Kane is not oblivious to the fact that there is greater understanding of mental health now. This era is probably better set up for me than the one that I came from. It was brutal. He could have dodged some of the game's greatest wingers now too. His brief Premier League career pitted him against David Ginola and many more. Mark Overmars was in a different league, he recalls. Nor is he someone who keeps too many mementos, although there is one notable photograph inside of his house. It is of him and Nelson Mandela. He met the future South African president at Manchester United's 1993 tour of the country when Beckham and O'Kane were selected to join up with the first team. Me and Bex were just buzzing to get a holiday. Sometimes you forget what you've seen and what you've done. You take it for granted and don't take it all in. O'Kane jokes that Beckham now owes him £1 million, the result of a teenage pact that if one of them did not find stardom, the other would help him out. But this is not really a story to regret. Although he has done some scouting for United, the club he still supports, there is no great appetite to throw himself into coaching. I would prefer to see my own kids grow up than others, and he insists that another Class of '92 reunion holds little appeal either. We did the film, the red carpet. I'm kind of done with that now. I'm happy with my life, with my children. That is what I live for. I don't need any of that. John O'Kane is still living on his own terms, and he's released a great book, Bursting the Bubble, Football and Autism and Me, available to buy now.